You know, you can find out whether or not someone has a business, if they own property, if they have a vehicle, a boat, or something of that nature. But a lot of times what clients will do is they'll call and say, I want to know how much money the person has in a bank account, or I want to know where they have bank accounts. There are legal ways to do that. If a business or an individual has a judgment against another party, then there are legal ways to do asset investigations and bank account searches. But again, in the United States, you cannot pretext a financial institution, so that you can get in violation of the law real quick doing those type of searches. And I know that in most other countries, privacy and access to records is less than it is in the United States. So we're pretty open with our information here to some degree, except when it comes to financial information. But most other countries, they have a lot more restrictions on that, and a lot of it's not even available. So it comes down to invasion of privacy and trespass. And I can tell you that one time I did an interview for a newspaper, and they asked me about doing electronic bug sweeps, TSCM sweeps. And I was very, very cautious. And I said, we find bugs, but we do not plant bugs. And I said that 3 times. Well, in the newspaper, they stated that we planted bugs and we found bugs, which is totally not right. And it's illegal to plant electronic listing devices without a warrant, and only law enforcement can get a warrant. So private investigators cannot plant listing devices. In that same article, they talked about a private investigator from California who made the comment supposedly that he loved to do surveillance at night, because what he would do is sneak up and drill a little bitty hole in the tail light of a car. And tail lights are typically red, so when the lights come on, there's a little beacon of white light in the middle of that red that he could follow from a distance. So I'm hoping that they misquoted him as well. But first thing he would have had to have done would be to trespass to get onto the property. Second thing would be to damage the property itself to drill a hole in that light. So a lot of problems with those kind of issues. We have what's called temporary restraining orders, or TROs. That's typically in a domestic case. It can be in cases involving businesses where there's a dispute, but it essentially is a temporary restraining order, such as a husband and wife separate. The wife will get a restraining order away for the husband because he supposedly is beating her up or mean to her or whatever. So that is a restraining order so that the husband cannot come within 1,000 yards or whatever the court says in the court document. So as private investigators, we are an extension of that restraining order. So if your client has a restraining order against you, you cannot do certain things that would intimidate or be in violation of that restraining order. One of the cases that we had here was Peggy Klink was stalked and finally murdered by her ex-boyfriend. And as it turns out, a private investigator was hired and used computer records to determine that she had moved to Turlock, New Mexico. And she was ultimately found through those records. The boyfriend ended up killing her. So be aware that when you release information to just anybody out there that you don't know, that could be alarming and cause physical complications. We have what's called the Rule 4.2 communication with a person represented by counsel. And it basically says that we are an extension of a lawyer, of an attorney. So if the lawyer cannot interfere with a client relationship, then we can't do that either. And so what will often happen in situations is we will be asked to go interview some people. And during that conversation, they'll sometimes say, well, you know, my attorney said, and you've got to stop and you say, wait, you said you have an attorney? Who is your attorney? And as soon as they say that they are represented in this matter, then you have to stop communication with them in reference to that topic. So if they say, yeah, I've got a business attorney represents my business, but he's not representing me in reference to the topic that you're questioning them on, then it doesn't matter. You can question them. But once they say that I have an attorney related to the topic at hand, then ethically you have to stop communicating with them and questioning them. And then you have to hopefully get the name of their attorney, give it to your client, the attorney, so that they can communicate. So we can be in violation of ethical issues, not even knowing it sometimes. So 59% of employees expect company managers to cut corners to meet targets. 43% of respondents say that their company has an anti-bribery and anti-corruption policy, but they could not identify who they could report that to if they had a problem with impropriety. After the United States, Germany is often seen leading the way in anti-corruption enforcement. By the end of 2010, 71 entities and individuals had been sanctioned for foreign bribery in Germany, compared with 107 in the United States, 39 in Italy, and 5 in the UK. So we all have this problem. In the US, we have a lot of problems with counterfeit product. I don't care if it's a professional sports team or a business or whatever. And that's, where they make hats and t-shirts and everything else that they sell in violation of trademarks and copyright infringement laws. And so that's part of the issue. They know that they're doing it illegally, but they don't care. So again, there's so many different ways to violate ethics and the law. So leading business problems, human resource ethics, interactions between managers, business owners, and employees create numerous opportunities for breaches of ethics. Discrimination, sexual or ethnicity, gender-related issues. It just goes without saying. That's part of our community in business community now. You have to be so careful the way that you communicate and treat other individuals. Accounting ethics, it's okay, to fudge a little bit. Like, I went out and did 3 hours of surveillance, but you know what? I'm going to bump that to 4 or 4.5. No one will really know. So those little things right there, once you start bumping it or cheating a little bit, then it's easier to be dishonest the next time. So if you have a policy of ethics and you stick to them, then you cannot be questioned going forward. Theft and fraud, business owners or employees can commit breaches of ethics on an individual basis rather than on behalf of a company. The early 21st century had a string of long-running Ponzi scams. I'm sure y'all have the same issue. We have what's called the Nigerian scams, and there's been offshoots of that. And now the big thing is, they'll call up and say, if you don't pay this fine within close of business today, we're going to come and arrest you. And they'll make you or want you to pay it using cards, like Visa cards or gift cards. And it's because it's not traceable, or it's harder to trace. And so those kind of things right there, they go after the gullible. And so we're doing a lot of investigations related to that topic now, trying to help people once they've been violated. So ethical guidelines, justice, it comes simply down to treating other people the way that you want to be treated in all times and in all transactions, business and personal. Mutual respect, it's the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And stewardship is take care of your industry. We as private investigators, we have to take care of our industry. And because you're here at this conference and getting education, I'm preaching to the choir, so to speak. You're already here, you're already a professional, but we have to make sure that those people that are not ethical, that they don't damage our industry, because we're all going to suffer if that happens. And then honesty in thoughts, words, and actions between people. So, it's just simple being courteous to one another and not taking advantage. Life is tough enough without having to worry about people scamming you. So we as private investigators, we are a tool of justice. You know, we bring justice to those who cannot get it any other way. So if they cannot rely upon us to bring justice, then where are we headed? We have to educate our clients, we have to be fair with them, and we have to respect them. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm the founder of the Coalition of Association Leaders. I started that because I've been in leadership in organizations for so long. And when I stepped down from being the president of the Texas Association of Licensed Investigators, I realized that there's a gap because in most associations, the leadership changes every 2 years. And the history behind why you do things certain ways often leaves with them. So I started this so that all leaders could come together and we could help benefit our association going forward. I founded the Association of Christian Investigators. We have about 2,000 members in 23 countries, mainly because in 1997, I'd been a speaker at a conference, and afterwards, the head of that organization asked me, he said, "What do you think is one of the biggest problems with our industry?" And I said, "Ethics." And I said, "It's not necessarily ethics in itself, it's the perception of our ethics." And I said, a lot of times the TV shows and movies depicts us as being, you know, former law enforcement officers that got kicked off of the police department and they were alcoholics, whatever the case may be. I said, you know, we need to make sure that we show ethics in everything that we do. And so he kind of encouraged me to start the association, and I did. So that was one of the main reasons behind that. Where people of like faith can share without being concerned, and we help promote one another and help promote the industry. So I want to thank y'all for for being professionals. These are some of the websites that I have. PI Institute of Training, I mentioned that before. It's PIinstitute.com. If you want additional training. Excuse me. I appreciate the opportunity to have been here. Hopefully we'll be able to see one another in person again in the near future. I travel all over to associations and the different meetings. So hopefully we'll see one another in person. In the meantime, I hope that you and your families are safe and enjoy a prosperous and safe new year. I'm hoping 2022 is going to be good for all of us. So thank you all. Thank you again for giving me the opportunity to be here and present this. Hope you found it enjoyable.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your good wishes, and that was a very, very exhaustive presentation on the respective subject that you presented. Thank you, Mr. Kelly, for connecting with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, we would now be hearing on training to sharpen investigating skills, and this will be presented to us by Shri C. Pal Singh, former Inspector General of Police and Honorary Director General. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as we welcome Shri C. Pal Singh, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. The chief guest, Shri Karnail Singh Ji, the chairman, Kaur Vikram Singh, all other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. You may be knowing that I moved away from Delhi to Chandigarh about a year and a half back. The last summit, CAPSI summit, and probably first for me, that I have not attended. I have been attending all the other summits. It's only the 16th summit I could not. So I was itching to be here. And lo and behold, day before yesterday, Kaur Vikram Singh Ji gave me a call. And he said, you must come. despite some personal discomforts, and also the time was very short, he gave a ring, and next day evening I had to book the flight. So what I like to refer in personal touch, that he is so affectionate and so emphatic at the same time that you cannot say no. He says, I know you have a dental problem, you didn't attend the summit, लेकिन मैंने आपको यहाँ पे गन्ने चूसने के लिए नहीं बुलाना. तो दांतों की बात नहीं है, आपको आना ही पड़ेगा. I said, certainly, if you say like that, I'll come. With these words, the subject to the heart of the chairman is always training. For the last about 16 years, ever since I've been associated with CAPSI and APDI, every time we have been meeting in a core group, he has been talking of training, either training of the security personnel or training of the detectives. And this presentation, which I am going to give, I jotted out day before yesterday hurriedly and then sent it to Rinku, that you can give some slides like that. My submission is that these are only thought processes of Kamar Vikram Singh ji, mingled with my thought process and some other people of the core group, and this is all combined and made into the slides, what we have been thinking all along. The sharpening, that is, that first of all, question is training is as important as anyone can say, and particularly I like to tell you that inadvertently and advertently, the chairman today said, Association of Professional Security, Association of Professional Security and Detectives and Investigators. Association of not private, Association of Professionally used word. So it was advertently or inadvertently, but he used the word professional. So professionalism can come only through good training. And unless you are trained well, you can't have. And I have told you this is all conglomeration or amalgam of various qualities, which we have laid down either in the National Occupation Standard of Investigators, or at times we discussed with other and we gave some replies to the cabinet committee and the committee which was constituted the government for Padara. The investigator is the man on the ground. And basic knowledge of legal provisions of the private investigation is a must. Curiosity to go to micro level detail also should be there in him. And ability and eagle eye to conduct inquiries and investigation at the spot. Then ability to verify the facts for achieving the purpose. Now how to go about next. There are, next slide please. Ways and means, I'm shorten it, that spot inquiries, interview, surveys, everything is there for a private investigation. And I'll take you back to Padara. That Padara was under consideration of the government, as he has told you in the opening address, for the last many years, and ultimately lapsed. And they said, the chairman of the Rajya Sabha said that all bills which are overdue, have been pending, have not enacted into law, they'll be considered as lapsed. And the reasons are many more, which of course Kamar Sahab has dilated at length. Now, draft report of the governing committee of the government was sent to the chairman, APDI, and we sat down and we wrote down our comments and gave it back to the government. Our comments of the core committee, where Kamar Sahab was all the time present when we were considering it, each and every word which we wrote back, he was present there. The restriction, there was such a restriction in Padara, the restriction contained in government committee report were analyzed by us. The private investigators performed their duties, we said, within the ambit of law. And all the laws of the country, like IPC, CRPC, etc., are applicable to the private investigator as they're applicable to everyone. Our profession should be left, we said, as self-regulated to some extent, like the profession of advocates, CAs, and engineers. Then we also said the national occupation standards have been framed by the then SSDC and duly approved by the National Development Council, and therefore our investigators are being prepared accordingly. We also said that this mandate of the National Skill Development Corporation has been accepted by the government. Then we went on. There were certain other issues. We went into those issues also. Details of response which we gave to MHA also included that our association, that is APDI, is an investigation, it is an association which was registered somewhere in 2006 and has the conduct rule. We attached the conduct rule also in our response of 2007, which also incorporate the code of ethics. You were mentioning just now ethics when the prior meet. We said this code of ethics is contained in that because they had some doubts about the ethical quality of the investigators in their report. And we said, no, we have a code of conduct, and this is our code of conduct, a code of ethics. We said perform their duties within the bounds of law, so there's no question of they had said they should do this, they are not doing that. We said, no, they perform their duties within the bounds of law, as all laws are applicable to her, and we are making them professional in terms of NOS, which are by and large covering all these laws. Respect for the right of the client. Just now, Kamar Saab mentioned in the beginning, I am telling you, he had touched most of the point which I will be referring. He said that all the privacy of an individual has not to be impinged, and the right of privacy has to be respected. This also we replied. Then we said the training to private investigator is done or would be done as per national occupation standards. Next. Give the next slide. Now, when we said national occupation standard, I'd like to dilate a little on the national occupation standard. As you know, I was deeply associated, there was a committee constituted by chairman for national occupation standard, and we had gone into detail before they were approved and ultimately published. Now, national occupation standard include the following important objectives. Observance of various conduct rules. Very important because they were doubting in that report about the conduct and ethics of the private investigators. We said we are written in the NOS itself, the observance of various conducts and rules and codes of ethics will be observed. We also said that requirement of managing operations, risk management, identifying threats, and assessing the gravity of the situation have also been included in our NOS. We also said that we understand when we send an investigator the plan of his operation, his investigation skill, prepare him for this task before we assign him. We also said how to carry out the search from open sources, research, open social media. We have mentioned that social media also is consulted, and first before they go, they conduct research from the open media, that is open sources. Then the methodology of conducting interviews, undertaking surveys, and collection of information has also been dilated upon. How to submit report even to the seniors has been laid down. So all these things are laid down. I'll now come to particular next slide. Now, out of these NOS, there are two NOS very important, that is NOS 4. NOS 4 lays down the qualification packs which underlines the unique set of function and standards for this profession. We also said it lays down the performance criteria also. It lays down the knowledge of some legislation. It lays down the understanding capabilities and skill of an individual. We also said there's also laid down the knowledge of legislation and regulation operating in the country which can impact the investigation. Next. there's hardly any time. I just quickly finish. The important legislation which are included in this National Occupation Standard covered the right to privacy, trespassing, securing of evidence, tampering with evidence, right to arrest, right of private defense, right to information, relevant section of Arms Act, Trademark Act, Copyright Act, and Evidence Act, as well as RTI. I am not taking a word from myself. It is all I have taken from the National Occupation Standard which we framed, which committee chairman and constituted, I'm a member of the committee. This is included in all those National Occupation Standards. We said we will train them. Knowledge of equipment like cameras, binoculars, CCTVs, voice recorders, smartphones, GPS, etc. also. The communication skill individual should have. And also, he should be having the writing skill so that the decision by the senior officer can be made on that. After that, next. Next is another important NOS, that is NOS 6. NOS 6 prescribes the methodology and techniques of carrying out the investigation. It says to carry out interviews, use of audio-video and smartphone within the legal parameters. Next, the importance of taking interviews, consent of the individual to be interviewed, and as per legal requirement, then you conduct the interview. Then we also laid down, I'm not going to all the 7 NOS, I've only taken basically 2 which are important. Assessment of the guidelines. Assessment and guidelines are also given. That is, both assessment for theory as well as practical. This assessment is prescribed. Score of minimum 70% in every NOS. Gentlemen, please try to note this. 70% for every NOS. We have 7 NOS. And assessment says that 70% marks is to be obtained for every NOS. It can undertake, here I'd like to refer to Karnail Singh Saab. He said that you have modules, and that module you should train, just like he mentioned about frauds and all, and he says we should train and create very nice. But the NOS says that it is not necessary that in one go you are able to conduct the examination and assessment. You may go by NOS, and you can qualify in that NOS. So periodic examination and assessment can be held. Neither the qualification packs have been thoroughly explained, unfortunately. I'm confessing it to our investigators, nor any assessment has so far been conducted. This is what has been laid down. Now, need of complying with our assurances. When we gave under Padara certain assurances in writing to the government, as well as when we laid down in the NOS, there is a need that the chairman and his committee, on behalf of APDI, has given certain assurances to the government in writing. And it is also said that these are the NOS we will follow. Now, the assurance given, I refer particularly, the laws of the land already prevalent should be well known to us. Otherwise, we have said they are known to us. We have written to them, Padara, that they are known to us. We laid down NOS should be known. And if our investigators do not know what are the laws on land, naturally he is not a professional, then need of adhering to the code of conduct. Now, this is a great doubt. All the government agencies emphasize that so-and-so investigator, there you know very well, I have not go to detail, papers came, this is not followed, though so-and-so has not followed code of conduct, which create a very bad image. So we said, no, we have a code of conduct. We already have a code of conduct which is applicable to all our APDI people. So why not we know what are the code of conduct, what we have to observe. Now, proper knowledge of prevalent law and to follow professional standard as per NOS. This has some assurance we have given, and we must carry out the insurance. Now, again, the third point, next, yes, thank you. Now, thinking all this thing, the chairman has been deliberating and talking to me, talking to the court, we must see Paul start some training, we must start some training. And he started that, let us start training so-called refresher training or RPL, recognition of prior learning. Already, your investigator is there for about 2 years, 3 years, and we know certain knowledge. Recognizing that, condensed some subject, he said, and he constituted a committee for the RPL under my chairmanship. And we went into details. And this committee, on the basis of decision taken by the core committee under chairman, decided to start short duration courses. Syllabus committee, which was constituted, the committee recommended the knowledge of important topics as per NOS. I'm telling you basically, we have taken out this subject from NOS. Then knowledge of more certain subjects, in addition to the subjects which are already included, in addition to the certain legal requirement where proper words are indicated in the NOS. We said certain more important things are also there which have somehow not been included in the NOS training. That is, we said, what is a circumstantial evidence, the modus operandi, and appreciation of evidence collection, and the criteria of probability, law of probability. All these things before you frame an investigative report, you should know these things, and we have indicated in our RPL training. Then, duration of training also we have indicated for RPL. Next. Places of training, whether it's virtual or it should be physical. Qualification marks also, for the RPL I'm talking. Then assessment and method of certification. Then the reading material. I have laid down at depth what reading material they should care. I have also said in that a compendium should be prepared so that this handy compendium can be immediately referred by the investigator. Knowledge of some specific section of provisions as per chapter 23 of the book of private investigator. This was written by Mr. V.M. Pandit, and I glanced through it. I have written the foreword of this book. So I said that chapter 23 is very important as far as private investigators are concerned. And this particular, you'll be surprised to know, this book also has fine reference in the recommendation or in the syllabus we gave to Noida International University and other universities where we intend to conduct courses. This particular book we recommended there also. Some provision of Dowry Prohibition Act and Indian Evidence Act. So these were the recommendations of the subcommittee which was constituted and technical committee for RPL. Now what is the way forward? Way forward is the efforts to start RPL or so-called refresher training remained in abeyance, either due to onset of COVID or due to some lukewarm attitude of some of my colleagues in the syllabus committee or the training committee or the RPL committee, or lacking of enthusiasm on the part of our friends, investigators. There is a view now to start training of investigation under the RRU. Now this is the idea I'm trying to tell, how the core group of APDI thinks about the APDI, how it is thought in his office. In case you are not able to do RPL, all right, we have given RPL, we'll give you RPL. But there is now RRU have come, that is a full-fledged institution. They'll give you certification. So we should have some training course for the investigator for RAN. We can consider, I feel, imparting full training containing all the qualification laid down in the qualification packs, etc. of NOS, plus some other subject, as far as RR is concerned, Riksha University. As far as other is concerned, RPL we have laid down. Now these are way forward, and I think the training is a must, and I feel that be proactive on your career path, gentlemen. We are being always reactive. We give some idea, some people follow, some people don't follow. Please be proactive in your career path. Hone up your talents by training. You must hone up your talents by training. Grow professionally and also personally by this training. By training, you refine your skills. And not only refine your skill, broaden your horizon, but your sharpened skill also boost up your production. Production in the sense, also boost up your own company. If you are professional certified, if you are sharp enough, you are boosting up the production, you are boosting up the investment of the company. So I am of the view that sharpening the skill of your investigator, either through RPL or through RR or whatever you otherwise think, or certain module as today suggested by Shri Karnail Singh Ji, is most important. I beseech you all that kindly look into it in your own interest and sharpen the skills of your investigators. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful address and for sharing your thoughts with us today and for encouraging us with such motivational words. Ladies and gentlemen, before we formally propose the vote of thanks, इससे पहले कि धन्यवाद प्रस्ताव हम प्रस्तुत करें, दो मेमेंटोज हैं जो हम निवेदन करेंगे कुंवर विक्रम सिंह जी से. Chairman is kindly requested to please present mementos as tokens of appreciation and respect for, firstly, our chief guest. सबसे पहले हमारे जो chief guest हैं श्री करनैल सिंह जी, उनका बहुत बहुत हम धन्यवाद करते हैं और एक मोमेंटो के साथ a token of appreciation and respect from our side APDI की ओर से ये एक खूबसूरत सा मोमेंटो, एक बार जोरदार तालियां. And also to Shri C. Pal Singh ji. So we have another memento and this one goes out for Shri C. Pal Singh. A token of respect and appreciation. Thank you for joining us today, sir. Now we formally will propose the vote of thanks, and this will be done by Shri Mahesh Sharma, Secretary General. Mahesh ji, can I please request you to present the vote of thanks?
हेलो. आदरणीय चेयरमैन सर एंड हमारे चीफ गेस्ट श्री कर्नैल सिंह जी, मैं आपका बहुत बहुत आभारी हूँ और धन्यवाद देता हूँ क्योंकि मुझे डीसीपी एल.एन. राव साहब ने बताया था कि आज का दिन आपका थोड़ा व्यस्त था और पहले असमर्थता प्रकट की थी, लेकिन बाद में आपने हाँ की. इसके लिए मैं आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ. आपने जिस प्रकार के अपने विचार व्यक्त किए और सबको एक नई टेक्नोलॉजी के बारे में बताया, नए इन्वेस्टमेंट के बारे में बताया, इट्स वेरी लर्निंग फॉर अस. मैं अपने सभी अवार्डीज, लाइफ अचीवमेंट अवार्ड और बेस्ट इन्वेस्टिगेशन अवार्ड, बेस्ट कोऑपरेट इन्वेस्टिगेटर, बेस्ट यंग इन्वेस्टिगेशन एंटरप्रेन्योर एंड इन्वेस्टिगेशन एंटरप्रेन्योर ऑफ द ईयर, सबको बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूँ. स्पेशली जब मुझे चेयरमैन साहब ने आपके सूर्यकांत जी के बारे में बताया तो ये एक इतना लर्निंग प्रोसेस है जिसको सभी को इससे एक सीख लेनी चाहिए कि उनके ऊपर जो आपदा विपती उसको उन्होंने प्रोफेशन में बदल दिया और अपनी कंपनी ओपन कर ली और लोगों की फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट सेवा करते हैं. मैं उनको बहुत बहुत बधाई. चेयरमैन साहब, आपकी परमिशन से मैं 2 मिनट का आपका वीडियो दिखाना चाहूँगा श्रीकांत जी का. प्लीज श्रीकांत. थैंक यू सूर्यकांत जी। ये स्पाई संकेत नहीं है, ये हम सबके लिए संकेत है कि हम आपसे प्रेरणा लें। थैंक यू वेरी मच। कोविड के दौरान जितना काम हमारे चेयरमैन साहब ने, क्योंकि मेरी उनसे रोज ही बात होती थी, जो पर्दे के पीछे काम होते हैं शायद आप सोच नहीं सकते। चेयरमैन साहब हर वक्त एक चीज सोचते हैं, चाहे वो कैप्सी हो या APDI, कि मैं इस प्रोफेशन को, मैं इस एसोसिएशन को कहाँ ले जाऊं। ये तो आपको सबको विदित है, चाहे WAD हो, चाहे CII हो, और भी बड़े बड़े इंटरनेशनल जो स्टेजेस हैं, एसोसिएशंस हैं, उसमें सबसे ज़्यादा नाम APDI का है, कैप्सी से भी ज़्यादा। दिस आई वांट टू टेल यू। उसी का नतीजा है कि आपके इस फोरम पे वैड के चेयरमैन, वैड के प्रेसिडेंट, सभी लोग अपना भाषण अपने को एड्रेस करते हैं, आपको करते हैं और अपना गर्व महसूस करते हैं। इवन डॉन रोसू तो हमारे APDI के ऑफिस में आए थे, वो हमारे मेहमान थे 5 दिन के लिए। ऐसे कोई नहीं आता है। किस एसोसिएशन को बुलाता है कोई? आप सब यहां बैठे हैं तो इसके पीछे एक तपस्या है। चेयरमैन साहब का विजन, उनकी सोचने की क्षमता हम सोच भी नहीं सकते। ये एक बैज ऑफ ऑनर है। ये देखिए, मैं जानबूझ के लगा के लाया था आज सर। ये बैज ऑफ ऑनर कैप्सी ने दिया था। किस काम के लिए दिया था? जिन्होंने कोविड में काम किया था, फ्रंट वॉरियर्स, उन सबको दिया था। उन सब कैप्सी के प्रबंधकों को दिया था। उन सब प्रिंसिपल एम्प्लॉयर के चीफ सिक्योरिटी ऑफिसर्स को दिया था, दैट इज एंड यूजर्स। इसका परिणाम इतना हुआ कि प्रिंसिपल जो हमारे ओनर्स हैं, एंड यूजर्स हैं, उनको समझ में आया कि सिक्योरिटी में कोई संस्था है। ये सिक्योरिटी गार्ड ऐसे ही नहीं बने, इनके पीछे साहब का दिमाग, विजन, मिशन है। इसीलिए हम इतने आगे पहुंच चुके हैं। अगर प्रधानमंत्री भी अपने आप को चौकीदार कहने लगा, कर्नल साहब मैं चौकीदार, और जब उनने चौकीदार कहा तो उनकी पूरी कैबिनेट ने कहा मैं भी चौकीदार, मैं भी चौकीदार, मैं भी चौकीदार। आज दुनिया में चौकीदार हो गए। कैसे? ये सोच है। होम मिनिस्टर भी हमारे यहां आए थे, उन्होंने कहा सिक्योरिटी गार्ड इज द फर्स्ट फ्रंट लाइन वॉरियर, क्योंकि वही एक ऐसा व्यक्ति है जिसने कोविड में जितने कोरोना पेशेंट थे उनको पहले उन्होंने फेस किया, पीछे नहीं हटा। आप लोगों के बहुत से रिश्तेदार होंगे, मैं कहना चाहता हूं, इवन हस्बैंड वाइफ, अगर वाइफ को कोरोना हो गया तो हस्बैंड ने कभी छूना मत, दूर रहो। इवन डेड बॉडी को भी नहीं छुआ। हमारे वर्कर बीच में जाके, उन कंपार्टमेंट में जाके उनको दवाई नहीं दी, बल्कि उनको पूरा पूरा बताया गया कि तुमको क्या क्या करना चाहिए। और कितने लोगों ने बलिदान भी दिया। मैं एक चीज और बताना चाहता हूं, APDI के हमारे बहुत सदस्यों ने कोविड में भी बहुत काम किया। जो फेक प्रोडक्ट की बात चेयरमैन साहब ने करी थी, ये बिल्कुल प्राइम मिनिस्टर के संज्ञान में डाली गई, उन्होंने इस पे एक्शन भी लिया। अब वो काम कुछ बड़े लोगों पे भी गया, ऐसा नहीं है, कुछ बड़े लोगों पे भी गया, सर पुलिस अधिकारियों पे भी गया जो रिटायर्ड हैं, मेरी नॉलेज में, क्योंकि वो मेरे भी मित्र हैं। तो कम से कम काम तो हो रहा है, ऐसा नहीं है। तो मेरा यही है कि जितने हमारे इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स हैं, अपने आप को इंटरनेशनल माइंड में बिठा लें और जब भी इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंसेस हो उसको अटेंड करें। जब यहां पर इतना सीखने का ज्ञान तुम्हें मिल सकता है तो वहां तो ज्ञान का भंडार है, समुद्र है। हालांकि बहुत मैं एक बात बताना चाहता हूं, चेयरमैन साहब जब प्रेसिडेंट थे वेड के, वर्ल्ड एसोसिएशन ऑफ डिटेक्टिव्स, ही वाज सिटिंग ऑन द डाइस और वहां पर 2 इंडियन और बैठे हुए थे, शायद आरपी चौहान साहब बैठे थे और एक सज्जन और थे, अजीत सिंह। तो चेयरमैन साहब ने कहा मैं इस डाइस पर पूरे इंडियन देखना चाहता हूं और उससे वो फिरंगी घबरा गए उन्होंने रूल चेंज कर दिया कि 4 से ज्यादा डायरेक्टर नहीं बनेंगे एक कंट्री के। कहीं ऐसा ना हो कि ये सारे डायरेक्टर भी इनके, पदाधिकारी भी इनके और हम पे कब्जा ना कर लें। लेकिन कम से कम आप जा तो सकते हैं। सबसे मैं डॉक्टर त्यागी यहाँ बैठे हुए हैं, गुजरात के लोग हैं। गुजरात के लोगों ने सबने वीजा लगवाया क्योंकि वीजा लग जाता है बहुत जल्दी, तो गुजरात सबसे अग्रणी है इसमें। और अकेले नहीं जाते, अपनी वाइफ्स को भी साथ में ले जाते हैं, पूरा घुमाते हैं, चाहे वो अमेरिका हो, लंदन हो, ऑस्ट्रेलिया हो, कहीं भी कॉन्फ्रेंस होती है, पूरा गुजरात का एक कंपार्टमेंट फुल चलता है। तो ऐसे ही मैं अपने सभी साथियों को कहना चाहूँगा कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा संख्या में जुड़ें और देश का मान सम्मान गौरव बढ़ाएं। ये हमारे रियली गौरव की बात है कि इंडिया का अगर कोई दल जाता है तो वो सामने देखता है कि ये इंडिया से आए हुए हैं। वैसे तो हम दूर से ही लग जाते हैं कि हम इंडियन है, बातों से ही लग जाते हैं, लेकिन फिर भी इंडिया का मान सम्मान बढ़ा है देश के अंदर, हमने खुद देखा है। इसके साथ हेलो, मैं एक जो बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट बात है, किसी भी एसोसिएशन के लिए गांधी जी को हम याद करते हैं। पैसा बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है, बिना गांधी जी के नोट के कुछ नहीं चलता है और चलेगा भी नहीं। पैसा देने के लिए लोग अपने नोट निकालते हैं, देना है भिखारी को 50 निकल आता है, 500 को फिर अंदर रख लेता है कि तो बहुत ज़्यादा है। 10 का नोट निकालने में उसे देखना पड़ता है मैं कौन सा नोट दूं। तो मैं उन स्पॉन्सर्स को जिन्होंने इस इवेंट को स्पॉन्सर किया, सर, प्लेटिनियम, गोल्ड, सिल्वर, मैं उनको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूं। आपके कारण एसोसिएशन चलती है, इसमें कंजूसी न करें, क्योंकि शादी ब्याह में आप कंजूसी नहीं करते। 1000 डिश लगा देते हैं खाने की, क्योंकि आपको दिखाना है कि मैं इतना बड़ा आदमी को देखो कितना खाने का सामान है, कितनी सजावट है। भिन्न भिन्न प्रकार के पेयजल भी होते हैं वहाँ पे तो उसमें अभी लंच में 5 मिनट है ना सर, इसलिए मुझे टाइम लेना ही है। मैं बाहर जाके कंफर्म करके फिर ही आता हूँ, तो वो फिर वहाँ जाके खड़े होना ठीक नहीं है। तो ये बात अपनों से कर रहे हैं, बाहर से नहीं कर रहे, तो इसलिए इस काम में अपना सहयोग दें और आगे भी देते रहें। मैं अपने जो इस इवेंट को एक्चुअली ऑर्गेनाइज, मेरा फेस हो सकता है, चेयरमैन साहब का फेस हो सकता है, लेकिन इसके काम करने के लिए पीछे बहुत लोग हैं। जो जब फिल्म बनती है तो हम तो हीरो हीरोइन को जानते हैं, ऐसा नहीं है। उसके पीछे जितने कलाकार हैं, जितने फोटोग्राफर्स हैं, काम करने वाले हैं, उन सबका भी, जहाँ हमारी ये रिंकू मैडम बैठी हैं, रिंकू लामा, शी वर्कड वेरी हार्ड ऑलवेज इन कैप्सी एंड APDI, बहुत मेहनत करती हैं, मैं उनका धन्यवाद देता हूँ। हमारे ऑफिस के यहाँ शौमी शर्मा, नरेंद्र कुमार, मनोज, प्लीज़ उनके लिए ज़रा वेलकम करें। प्रेम, केवल, हमारे अजीत जी, हमारे प्रेसिडेंट महोदय दिल्ली के, ये सब ने बड़ी मेहनत की है। इन्होंने बड़ी अपने वेबिनार भी किए हैं, हर साल किए हैं, और रिज़ल्ट भी आया ही है, मैं ये नहीं कहूँगा रिज़ल्ट नहीं आया, बिल्कुल रिज़ल्ट आया है। थैंक्स टू जो हमारे ऑनलाइन बैठे हुए हैं, हमारे मेंबर्स, हमारे बड़े बड़े सीनियर्स, उनका भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कि वो कंटिन्यूस हमको वॉच कर रहे हैं, हमको देख रहे हैं और सुन रहे हैं। स्पेशली जो हमारे आरआरयू से नरेंद्र जी आए हुए हैं, मैं उनका धन्यवाद देता हूँ। स्पेशली आपके वाइस चांसलर जी का, पटेल साहब का, जिन्होंने आपको यहाँ पर आरआरयू के बिहाफ पर भेजा। थैंक यू वेरी मच सर। आप सबको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, जितने भी व्यक्ति इसको, जितने भी मेंबर्स, ऑनरेबल डिजिटल डिग्निटरीज बैठे हुए हैं और देख रहे हैं। इसके अलावा सर, थैंक्स टू आवर नेटफ्लिक्स और अदर मीडिया जिन्होंने इसको पूरा कवर किया। मेरी उनसे रिक्वेस्ट है, जब आप इसको प्रोग्राम को दिखाएं, अगर आप चेयरमैन साहब को शेयर कर सकते हैं किस किस दिन क्या आ रहा है, तो हम इसको ऑल इंडिया बेसिस पर अपना व्हाट्सएप मैसेज दे सकते हैं कि इसको आप देखें, तो आपकी टीआरपी भी बढ़ सकती है। ऐसी बात नहीं है, इसमें आप इसको कर सकते हैं। हमारी संख्या बहुत ज़्यादा है, कैप्सी में भी 90 लाख लोग हैं, तो 90 लाख टीआरपी से आप समझ सकते हो आप कहाँ से कहाँ नंबर 1 पहुँच सकते हैं। सो एंड थैंक्स टू मिस्टर वाइस चेयरमैन डैन रासू जी, प्रेसिडेंट मिस्टर एलेक्सी, एंड APDI के श्री सुभाष बधावन जी को भी मेरा बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। एंड DCP एलन राव किसी वजह से इसको ज्वाइन नहीं कर पाए, उनका मैसेज मेरे पास आया था, उनका भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और स्पेशली कि हमारे चीफ गेस्ट को यहाँ तक लेकर आए, स्पेशली उनके लिए भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। एंड लास्ट बट नॉट द लीस्ट, आवर एंकर जूही मल्होत्रा, खड़े हो जाओ भाई, जूही मल्होत्रा, जो पिछले 8-10 साल से कैप्सी और APDI का फंक्शन कर रहे हैं और लगातार कर रहे हैं, कोई चेंज नहीं है, ऐसा ही करते रहिए। थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर यू ऑल्सो, थैंक यू सो मच।
थैंक्स तो हो गया, लेकिन मैं पर्सनली जो नेटफ्लिक्स की टीम आई हुई यहाँ से, बॉम्बे से जहाँ पधारे सारे, उनका धन्यवाद करता हूँ। हमारे बीच में भाव्या दोरे हैं। वे इज दैट यंग लेडी Bhavya? No, just stand. People should know. He is a journalist who will be writing everything and all that. He's going through all the process. We have Mr. Ashok Singh, who's the director of the whole film. I think he's we have Shameen ji. Shameen is the main person who's organizing with the whole team of 10-15 people. They have done a good job. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for covering, and thank you very much for bringing this wonderful subject in the knowledge of the people. I'm sure your movie you are making will make a lot of difference. Thank you very much. So nice, sir.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, with this we come to the close of Annual National Conference 2021 of APDI. Thanks to all the dignitaries, our chief guest, all dignitaries seated on the dais, and all friends and the audience members. We congratulate all the winners, all the awardees for presenting exemplary work, and we hope and pray that the others also take motivation from this and we all continue to rise together. We congratulate the members of the management, the chairman sir, president, secretary general, general secretary, and the other members. Ladies and gentlemen, before we invite everyone for lunch, may we request everyone to kindly rise for the national anthem, please.
अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा, विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा, उच्छल जलधि तरंगा। तब शुभ नामे जागे, तब शुभ आशीष मांगे, गाहे तब जय गाथा। जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, जय हे